You are an adopted child in that family, and you're practically a stranger to my husband. Now please don't get involved with us, my husband and me, after our marriage. You're a stranger, so we won't invite you to the wedding. I lost my parents when I was young and have lived apart from my brother. When I heard my brother was getting married, I was thrilled. But then his fiancée said something unbelievable, not realizing it might cause her a lot of trouble later. I'm Emily, a 33-year-old office worker. My parents died in a car accident when I was just 8 years old. Initially, my 5-year-old brother Ethan and I were taken in by our paternal grandparents. Our grandparents tried desperately to raise us, but it's tough to bring up 2 kids. They had retired, and it must have been hard for them to continue raising 2 children. 3 years later, I was taken in by my aunt and uncle, becoming their adopted child. It was sad to be separated from my brother, but we could still meet. I had just gotten used to living with my grandparents when I had to move to a new home, which was nerve-wracking. However, my aunt and uncle welcomed me as if I were their own child. Let's slowly become a real family for us. You are already our daughter. It might be difficult at first, but let's try to be open with each other, my uncle said, and I remember feeling relieved. I later found out that my childless aunt and uncle decided to adopt me after much discussion. Their home was a bit far from my grandparents, but a 30-minute train ride away, and I thought I could visit my brother on my own when I got a bit older. That's how my life as my aunt and uncle's daughter began. Being blood-related and having a parent-child relationship are not the same, at least that's what I think. A mother isn't only someone who gives birth. Over time and through shared experiences, a parent-child relationship can develop. I learned this through my life with my aunt and uncle. There's no blood relation between us, but we're definitely parents and daughter, a family. I only told close friends, and they were surprised to hear we weren't blood related. A friend's mom once told me, "Emily, growing up so well-adjusted despite such circumstances is impressive, but I don't think it's anything special." It was just the love and patience of my aunt and uncle that were remarkable. At first, I couldn't fully open up. I was stubborn and even rebellious at times. I'm deeply grateful to the 2 who continued to face and accept me. And now, I truly think of my aunt and uncle as my parents. As an adult, I wanted to give back to them, even just a little. With this in mind, I joined my uncle's company, worked hard, and now I'm a supervisor. I kept in touch with my brother regularly. Once we both had cell phones, we communicated directly through texts and calls, and I would visit him sometimes. But after high school, our meetings became infrequent, and he would only reply to my occasional texts. It's common for siblings of different genders to drift apart as they grow older. My brother grew up well in my grandparents' house, remaining kind. He might have felt lonely without parents at times, but he never caused me significant worry and matured eventually. You are an adopted child in that family, and you're practically a stranger to my husband. Now please don't get involved with us, my husband and me, after our marriage. You're a stranger, so we won't invite you to the wedding. I lost my parents when I was young and have lived apart from my brother. When I heard my brother was getting married, I was thrilled. But then his fiancée said something unbelievable, not realizing it might cause her a lot of trouble later. I'm Emily, a 33-year-old office worker. My parents died in a car accident when I was just 8 years old. Initially, my 5-year-old brother Ethan and I were taken in by our paternal grandparents. Our grandparents tried desperately to raise us, but it's tough to bring up 2 kids. They had retired, and it must have been hard for them to continue raising 2 children. 3 years later, I was taken in by my aunt and uncle, becoming their adopted child. It was sad to be separated from my brother, but we could still meet. I had just gotten used to living with my grandparents when I had to move to a new home, which was nerve-wracking. However, my aunt and uncle welcomed me as if I were their own child. Let's slowly become a real family for us. You are already our daughter. It might be difficult at first, but let's try to be open with each other, my uncle said, and I remember feeling relieved. I later found out that my childless aunt and uncle decided to adopt me after much discussion. Their home was a bit far from my grandparents, but a 30-minute train ride away, and I thought I could visit my brother on my own when I got a bit older. That's how my life as my aunt and uncle's daughter began. Being blood-related and having a parent-child relationship are not the same, at least that's what I think. A mother isn't only someone who gives birth. Over time and through shared experiences, a parent-child relationship can develop. I learned this through my life with my aunt and uncle. There's no blood relation between us, but we're definitely parents and daughter of family. I only told close friends, and they were surprised to hear we weren't blood related. A friend's mom once told me, "Emily, growing up so well-adjusted despite such circumstances is impressive, but I don't think it's anything special." It was just the love and patience of my aunt and uncle that were remarkable. At first, I couldn't fully open up. I was stubborn and even rebellious at times. I'm deeply grateful to the two who continued to face and accept me. And now, I truly think of my aunt and uncle as my parents. As an adult, I wanted to give back to them, even just a little. With this in mind, I joined my uncle's company, worked hard, and now I'm a supervisor. I kept in touch with my brother regularly. Once we both had cell phones, we communicated directly through texts and calls, and I would visit him sometimes. But after high school, our meetings became infrequent, and he would only reply to my occasional texts. It's common for siblings of different genders to drift apart as they grow older. My brother grew up well in my grandparents' house, remaining kind. He might have felt lonely without parents at times, but he never caused me significant worry and matured eventually. My brother graduated from college and joined a top company that everyone knows. My grandparents and I were very proud. Then this year, when he turned 30, he contacted me out of the blue, wanting me to meet the woman he was marrying. While I felt a bit upstaged, it was indeed wonderful news to hear that my brother was getting married. I regret that our grandparents, who passed away in the last 2 to 3 years, couldn't be here to celebrate. They surely would have been overjoyed. A few days later, my brother brought his fiancé to meet us at the house where my aunt, uncle, and I live. Let me introduce you. This is Samantha, my fiancé. Having lost our parents at a young age and eventually being separated, it's been quite a journey for us. Thinking about how we've both grown up and reached this day, I can't help but feel a warmth in my eyes. Seeing my brother's happy face made me feel almost like a mother to him. To think that my little and adorable brother is now introducing his fiancée. I'm his sister, Emily. Thank you for coming today. I smiled at his fiancé, Ethan. I'm so happy to see you after so long. Wow, you've grown up to be so respectable. Congratulations on your engagement. I'm glad to meet Samantha too. Thank you for coming. My aunt and uncle also smiled warmly, extending their greetings. No, it's only natural for us to come and greet you. I also wanted to have a chat with my future sister-in-law. She responded briskly, smiling. I had imagined her to be a sheltered young lady, being the daughter of a company president, but she seemed quite capable. Ethan is a gentle and easygoing type, so maybe he matches well with a woman like her. She looked straight at me with determined eyes. That day, we all introduced ourselves and chatted over cake, with my aunt and uncle joining in. Are you single? Do you have any plans for marriage? So you're the adopted child of this family. Don't you live alone? She asked various questions, seemingly trying to get to know me, her future sister-in-law. When she asked to exchange contact information before leaving, I gladly agreed. Later, she contacted me to meet at a cafe, making me feel like I was gaining a sister, which was a ticklish feeling. However, my cheerful mood was about to be abruptly overturned. As we sat down to coffee, Ethan's fiancé began, "I wanted to talk with you alone today." "Sure, thank you. We're just women here, so if you have any complaints or hard-to-say things about my brother, I'm all ears," I replied. That's not what I wanted to talk about." Did she just sigh? Sensing something off in the atmosphere, I looked up to see her gazing intently at me. "I have a favor to ask before we get married." What could it be? Her use of the word favor made me a bit apprehensive. Her gaze was very intense. "So you're the adopted child of that couple and single, right?" "Yes, that's right," I replied, a bit taken aback by her sudden question. "Ethan is practically a stranger to you now, right? Please don't involve yourself with us after we get married." "What?" I blurted out in surprise. "We won't invite you to the wedding since you're a stranger." "What? Just wait a minute. What is she talking about?" I might be a stranger legally to my brother, but we are real siblings. I have no intention of meddling in your married life, but I do want to attend and celebrate your wedding. I've heard that no family is free of problems between daughters-in-law and mothers-in-law or sisters-in-law. Is she trying to preemptively ward off any potential issues with me, her future sister-in-law? But I have no intention of interfering in my brother's marital life, so I gently assured her that there was no need to be so wary. But she shook her head at my words and spoke again. "Please don't misunderstand. I'm saying you're a stranger to us. Family, yet considered strangers." I couldn't comprehend what she was saying and tilted my head in confusion. "Ethan and you have been strangers for a long time, right? And you're still unmarried and living with those elderly folks, not even on your own. Being an adopted child and single, it would be troubling if you were to rely on us in the future." She declared this firmly. Such a cold look for the sister of her future spouse. I was taken aback, but she continued without concern. "It's out of the question for you to rely on us after they pass away." "Wait a minute, they're still healthy, so please don't say such things. Besides, I have my own job and income." Yes, for now. "If you were unemployed, I wouldn't have even come to greet you." She interrupted me, glaring. "Anyway, we won't invite you to the wedding, and you don't need to invite us to any of your family events either. Just because you're single, don't expect any future support or care from us." What does she think of me? Sure, I'm single now, but I have a job and savings. The thought of considering a family member of her future spouse in such a way made me feel dizzy. "I understand how you feel, but not even notifying about family events seems too much. I don't think Ethan would agree. Just because we've seen less of each other as adults doesn't mean our family bond is gone." Shocked, I responded firmly. "Well, minimal involvement is unavoidable, I guess, but please gradually distance yourself." Talking with her, who said this so nonchalantly, made me feel sad. "I'm asking for the sake of our happy marriage. If you refuse, it might complicate our marriage. Remember, it was Ethan who wanted to marry. Think about his happiness, okay?" She implied that if I didn't accept this, she might not marry Ethan. It sounded more like a unilateral ultimatum than a request. Ethan's proud smile from the other day came to mind. This condition was unreasonable, but I didn't want to interfere with my brother's marriage. Faced with her irrational demands, I was left speechless. That night, when I told my aunt and uncle about the day's events, they both found it hard to believe, understandably so. Did she really say that? She seemed so pleasant when we talked the other day. I was shocked too. I thought she just didn't want a sister-in-law meddling, but it was more than that, I said. She insisted we're strangers and wouldn't hear otherwise. What will you do? My uncle asked, concerned. I don't want to ruin Ethan's wedding. I'm not happy about it, but I'll skip it. Once things settle, I'll meet with Ethan alone to celebrate, I replied. I see. But if Emily is treated like that, we have no desire to attend either, eh? My aunt nodded in agreement. Seems like the problem is on that young lady's side, isn't it? My uncle looked puzzled, and my uncle nodded with a slight smile. Then came the wedding day. The sky was clear and blue. I should have been there to witness my dear brother's special day up close, but it couldn't be helped. Then my cell phone rang. The screen displayed Samantha, a name I had saved affectionately thinking she'd become my sister-in-law. But now she's a stranger, not a sister. I felt no obligation to answer the call. The phone stopped momentarily, only to ring again immediately. Ignoring it only led to more and more calls on the wedding day. I wondered how the bride, Samantha, had the time to call like a demon annoyingly. I muttered, and my aunt and uncle seemed to guess who was calling, chuckling. I switched to silent mode, but now my cell phone kept vibrating over and over. I wondered what kind of face Samantha, who had bluntly told me I was a stranger, was making now. The calls finally stopped, but my phone's call history was filled with Samantha's name. A stalker, perhaps. The thought made me laugh. There were a few voicemails, but I didn't feel like listening to them. That afternoon, as my aunt, uncle, and I were enjoying our favorite donuts, the intercom rang insistently. When I went to the door, Samantha, Ethan's fiancée, burst in furiously. Hey, why aren't you answering your phone? Do you know how many times I called? Aren't you supposed to be getting married today? What do you want at a stranger's house? Your fault, the wedding's ruined. Excuse me, I smiled back unfazed. You didn't let your uncle and aunt attend because you weren't invited. I haven't done anything. I just didn't go to the wedding as you told me. What? Samantha seemed confused. You told me you wanted to attend my dear brother Ethan's wedding. Not to come because I'm a stranger. Why should I answer a stranger's call? Don't be so. What do you mean so? I interrupted. Why are you here? Well, because your uncle here is the president of the Electrical Industry Association. And someone started saying he wasn't there, Samantha explained. Ethan suddenly appeared. Ethan, sorry, I thought she ran off without listening to me, but she really came here. Sorry, Emily, I didn't know anything. What happened? I heard from Samantha that you wouldn't attend. She said you had to meet your boyfriend's parents on this day, and it was hard for you to tell me. I thought that was understandable, Ethan said. Oh, quite a convincing lie for a reason not to attend my brother's wedding. I was impressed. Then today, when attendees noticed our uncle's absence, they started asking why the chief guest wasn't there. Someone close to our uncle said because his daughter was denied attendance, and she's the groom's real sister. What's going on? Samantha's parents were shocked, saying they knew nothing about it. Then relatives and other guests got involved, causing a big commotion, so the wedding turned into chaos. Whether it was as expected or beyond, biting her lip, Samantha glared at me again. Because of you, I was criticized terribly, called inhumane. If you had answered the phone and come to the wedding, things might have been different. You heartless person. Who's heartless here, I wonder? My uncle, who had been observing quietly, stood up and spoke. I decided not to attend on my own. Emily, in fact, wanted me to be there for her brother. What? Samantha was incredulous. I'm a businessman and currently the president of the Electrical Industry Association. I have connections with Ethan's major manufacturing company, and your father's component factory. But you've just ruined a good relationship. Your thoughtless actions are going to make your position, and even your father's company's situation, very difficult. What? Samantha was at a loss for words. By the way, Emily is now a supervisor in our company. She's indispensable, studying technology and management every day. And she's been the secretary of the Electrical Industry Association for 2 years now, building quite a network in the industry. Samantha, who had underestimated me as a poor, troublesome single woman, opened her eyes wide, uttering a ridiculous sound. Indeed, Emily and Ethan lost their real parents when they were young. It's more sad than we can imagine. My uncle's voice was calm yet dignified. But Emily has bravely and positively carved out her life. Judging her foolishly just because she's adopted and single is far more foolish of you, Samantha. Samantha was left speechless. She had no words to counter my uncle's argument. Yet again, she lashed out at me. This liar. If your uncle is such an important and wealthy person, you should have told me. Then I would have let you attend the wedding. Enough already, I sharply dismissed her childish behavior. I tried to talk about my work, but you were the one who didn't listen, remember? And we all introduced ourselves on the day we first met. You only remember that I was single and adopted. People like you who judge others only by their titles or appearances end up in situations like this. I'm not living here because I can't afford to live alone. I want to be with my parents, but we are a family now. As a stranger, you should leave. Wait, you need to help me out here. I'm being made out to be the bad one. As a sister, do something. Samantha pleaded. I'm not your sister, I'm a stranger, I corrected her with a smile. I'm the adorable fiance of your brother, so I'm like a sister, right? There's no point in this conversation. You should take responsibility for your own words. I'll take back what I said before if you help me smooth things over, Samantha tried. There's nothing a stranger like me can do, I replied. What? Wait, goodbye then, Samantha exclaimed. Wait, no, come on, let's go. Ethan reluctantly led his protesting fiance away. Afterward, Ethan and Samantha's engagement was called off, and she was saddled with the wedding cancellation fees. She complained, but her parents accepted that it was her fault. Despite being a president's daughter, her father's company was just a small factory. Maintaining relationships with Ethan's major company and my uncle's Electrical Industry Association was crucial for the factory's survival. Now, due to her actions, her father had to apologize profusely. Samantha, having caused such a mess, was reprimanded and not allowed to return home. She tried to stay with friends, but after the wedding fiasco, they distanced themselves, and no one offered help. Ethan came to apologize, reflecting on his choices. She only liked me because I worked for a major company and had no parents to trouble her. And the way she treated you, like an obstacle, I hate that I couldn't see through her. Ethan slumped, and we all tried to comfort him. It's good that you weren't married yet, and she was pretty. It's not your fault for being deceived by someone who hid her true self, Ethan. You are too kind, my aunt reassured him. It's a shame about her, but someday you'll find someone who truly cares for you, my uncle added. Here, Ethan, your favorite donuts. Let's have some coffee, I offered, trying to lighten the mood. This incident somehow brought me closer to Ethan, with whom I had lost touch as adults. I realized I had also been neglecting to contact my brother. The initial news of his engagement was the reason for our reunion, so in a way, I'm grateful to her. Watching Ethan and my aunt and uncle talk like a real family, I pondered these thoughts. Friends, lovers, family, maybe we take those closest to us for granted and forget to show them care. I resolved to cherish my loved ones more. How are your loved ones doing?
You're out, Sophie. I've removed your name from the credits. The documentary belongs to me now. Marcus's voice crackled through my phone as I stood in the elegant lobby of the Sundance Film Festival. I gripped my phone tighter, watching fellow filmmakers mill about, completely unaware of the bomb that had just been dropped on my career. You can't do that, I said, keeping my voice steady despite the rage building inside me. I spent 3 years of my life on this project. Half of that footage is mine. Marcus laughed, the same arrogant laugh I'd grown to hate over the past few months. Check your contract again, sweetheart. As the production company owner, I have final say over credits and ownership. You were just a contractor. I closed my eyes, remembering all the nights I'd spent in remote villages, documenting the disappearing indigenous art forms that formed the heart of our documentary. Marcus had barely left his comfortable office in New York, yet here he was, trying to erase my contributions entirely. Why? I asked, though I already knew the answer. The documentary was already generating buzz. Early reviews were glowing. Prize money and prestige were on the line. Let's be honest, Sophie. You don't have the connections to take this film where it needs to go. I do. Consider this a business decision. The line went dead. I stood there, surrounded by the excited chatter of other filmmakers, feeling like I'd been punched in the gut. But beneath the shock and anger, a small smile crept onto my face. Marcus had made one critical mistake. My name is Sophie Chen, and at 32, I'd spent my entire adult life behind a camera, documenting stories that others overlooked. This documentary about vanishing indigenous art forms had been my passion project, one I pitched to Marcus's production company 3 years ago. He'd seen the potential for awards and funded it, but the heart and soul of the project, that was all me. What Marcus didn't know was that I still had all the original footage. Every interview, every sacred ceremony we'd been allowed to film, every raw, unedited moment was safely stored in multiple locations, including footage that would absolutely destroy his reputation if it ever got out. I made my way to my hotel room, my mind racing with possibilities. The festival screening was in 3 days. Marcus would be premiering his version of our documentary, likely edited to minimize my visible presence and contributions. But he had no idea what I had planned. Sitting at the desk in my hotel room, I opened my laptop and pulled up a folder labeled Insurance. Inside were clips I kept separate from the main documentary footage. There was Marcus, drunk at a sacred ceremony, making inappropriate comments about the tribal elders. Marcus demanding that we stage scenes for more dramatic effect, even when it meant misrepresenting cultural practices. And most damaging of all, Marcus admitting on camera that he had no real interest in preserving indigenous art. He just wanted something exotic to make his name in the documentary world. I kept these clips not out of malice, but because something in my gut had told me to be careful. After 15 years in documentary filmmaking, I learned to trust those instincts. My phone buzzed with a text from Amar, my sound engineer and longtime friend. Just heard what Marcus did. That snake. What's the plan? I smiled, remembering how Amar had been there through every step of filming, witnessing Marcus's gradual transformation from enthusiastic producer to controlling egomaniac. Remember that backup drive we made? I texted back. Time to use it. The one with all his beautiful moments, Amar replied. Oh, this is going to be good. I spent the next hour making calls to contacts I'd made during filming, the indigenous artists, community leaders, and local guides who had shared their stories with us. Many had become friends, trusting me with ceremonies and traditions rarely shown to outsiders. They were as much a part of this film as I was, and they deserved to know what was happening. To my surprise, they weren't just supportive. They were ready to help. We trusted you, Sophie, not him, said Maria, an elderly weaver we'd filmed in Peru. Our stories are sacred. They shouldn't be used for one man's glory. By midnight, I had a plan forming. Marcus thought he could erase me from the project, but he'd forgotten something crucial. In documentary filmmaking, authenticity is everything. And I had proof that his version of the film was anything but authentic. I was about to show Marcus exactly why you don't betray someone who carries a camera everywhere. As I lay in bed that night, I thought about the moment 3 years ago when I first pitched this project to Marcus. He'd seemed so different then, passionate, supportive, eager to help tell these important stories. Or maybe I'd just seen what I wanted to see. Either way, in 3 days he would learn that some stories can't be controlled or contained. They belong to the people who lived them, who shared them, who captured them through a lens with respect and care. And I was going to make sure those stories were told the right way, no matter what it cost me. My phone buzzed one last time. A message from Marcus. I expect you to handle this professionally. Don't make a scene at the festival. I smiled at the screen, thinking of the footage safely backed up in 3 different locations. Don't worry, I typed back. I'll let the film speak for itself. Tomorrow would be interesting. Very interesting indeed. The next morning, I met Amar in a small cafe near the festival venue. He arrived with his laptop and a determined look in his eyes. I've edited together a 10-minute compilation of Marcus's finest moments, he said, sliding into the booth. Want to see? I nodded, and he turned the laptop toward me. The footage was devastating. There was Marcus ordering local artists to speed up their traditional crafting processes for better television. Marcus mocking sacred ceremonies when he thought the cameras were off. Marcus bragging about how he would fix it in post to make the story more marketable. This is perfect, I said, closing the laptop. But we need to be strategic about how we use it. Just then, my phone lit up with notifications. Marcus had just posted on social media, promoting the documentary's premiere. The post included beautiful stills from my footage, with a long self-congratulatory caption about his vision and 3 years of dedication to showcasing indigenous cultures. The irony would have been funny if it wasn't so infuriating. He's using your shots, Amar growled, looking at his own phone. The ones you took while he was sitting in his hotel room complaining about the heat. I took a sip of my coffee, letting the warm liquid calm my nerves. Let him. He's just making this easier for us. We spent the next few hours preparing our counter move. I reached out to several journalists who covered the independent film scene, particularly those known for their integrity and interest in ethical filmmaking. I have a story about the real making of vanishing arts, I wrote, including footage that never made it to the final cut. By afternoon, 3 major industry publications had expressed interest, but the response that really caught my attention came from Diana Torres, a respected documentary filmmaker who also sat on the festival's ethics committee. This is serious, she wrote after I sent her some sample clips. The festival needs to know about this before the premiere. Can you meet today? I met Diana at her hotel suite, where she watched the footage with growing concern. This isn't just about credit theft, she said finally. This is about the exploitation of indigenous communities and misrepresentation of their cultures. The festival takes these issues very seriously. As if on cue, my phone buzzed with another message from Marcus. Heard you've been talking to people at the festival. Remember your NDA. One wrong move and I'll bury you in legal fees. I showed the message to Diana, who scoffed. NDAs don't cover ethical violations. He should know that. We spent the next 2 hours going through my documentation, agreements with the indigenous communities, original shooting schedules showing I had been on location while Marcus stayed behind, and most importantly, the unedited footage showing how those communities had trusted me, not him, with their stories. The premiere is tomorrow night, Diana said, checking her calendar. I'm calling an emergency meeting of the ethics committee for this evening. Will you testify? I thought about everything I had to lose, future contracts, industry connections, my reputation if Marcus somehow spun this against me. Then I thought about Maria, the weaver in Peru, and all the others who had shared their sacred traditions with us, trusting us to tell their stories with respect. Yes, I said. I'll testify. The ethics committee meeting lasted 3 hours. I presented my evidence calmly and methodically, letting the footage speak for itself. Panel members watched in silence as the real Marcus was revealed through his own words and actions. As the meeting concluded, the committee chair turned to me. We'll need to review all of this carefully, but I want you to know that your professionalism in handling this situation is noted. It would have been easy to just leak this to the press. I nodded, gathering my materials. These stories are too important for that. They deserve better than scandal headlines. Walking back to my hotel that night, I felt lighter somehow. Whatever happened next, I had stood up for what was right. My phone buzzed again. Marcus, of course. You've made a big mistake, his message read. No one will work with you after this. I'll make sure of it. I didn't bother responding. Instead, I texted Amar. It's done. Now we wait. His reply came quickly. Whatever happens, you did the right thing. Want to get a drink? Looks like we both could use one. I smiled, grateful not for the first time for friends like Amar who stood by me even when everything was falling apart. Meet you in 10, I replied. Tomorrow would bring either vindication or professional suicide. But tonight, I would raise a glass to staying true to myself and the stories I had promised to tell. The morning of the premiere, I woke up to an email from the festival's ethics committee. My heart pounded as I opened it, reading the carefully worded message twice to make sure I understood correctly. The committee had reached a decision. The documentary would still premiere, but with a crucial caveat. It would be shown in its original form, with my full credits restored. Additionally, Marcus's production company would be placed under review for ethical violations. I barely had time to process this when my phone rang. It was Maria, the weaver from Peru. Sophie, the whole village is watching the live stream of the festival tonight. We're proud of you for standing up for our stories. Her words brought tears to my eyes. This was what mattered, not the awards, not the recognition, but the trust these communities had placed in me. The hours before the premiere passed in a blur. I chose my outfit carefully, a hand-woven shawl Maria had gifted me, paired with a simple black dress. As I entered the theater, I could feel the tension in the air. Industry insiders were whispering, having clearly heard rumors about the ethics committee's decision. Marcus was there, standing in the lobby with a group of executives. When he saw me, his face contorted with rage. He started walking toward me, but Diana from the ethics committee smoothly intercepted him. I wouldn't, I heard her say quietly. You're already on thin ice. The lights dimmed and the documentary began. Watching it on the big screen, I felt a surge of pride. Every frame captured the beauty and dignity of the indigenous artists we'd filmed. Their stories shone through exactly as they should. When the credits rolled, my name was there, directed by Sophie Chen and Marcus Reynolds. The audience erupted in applause, but it wasn't over yet. The festival director stepped onto the stage. We have a special announcement, she began. This film has been selected for our special jury prize for cultural documentation. However, in light of recent developments, the award will be presented solely to Sophie Chen, in recognition of her commitment to ethical filmmaking and cultural preservation. The applause grew louder. I made my way to the stage, feeling slightly dizzy. As I accepted the award, I saw Marcus storming out of the theater, his face red with fury. I'd like to dedicate this award to the incredible artists who shared their stories with us, I said into the microphone. Their trust and friendship taught me that true documentary filmmaking isn't about glory or awards, it's about honoring the truth of people's lives. After the ceremony, I was surrounded by well-wishers and industry contacts. Several offered me directing opportunities for new projects. But the most meaningful moment came when I checked my phone and found a flood of messages from the communities we'd filmed, celebrating the victory. Later that night, at the festival's closing party, Amar found me on the terrace. Have you heard? He asked, grinning. Marcus's company is facing a full investigation. Several other filmmakers have come forward with similar stories about him taking credit for their work. I nodded, sipping my champagne. It's not about revenge, It's about doing right by the stories we tell. Speaking of stories, Amar said, I heard National Geographic is interested in your next project. Something about traditional music preservation. I smiled, thinking of all the possibilities ahead. Yes, but this time I'm doing it my way. No compromises. The next morning, as I packed for my flight home, I received one final email from the festival, an invitation to join their documentary ethics advisory board. They wanted my help in developing guidelines to protect both filmmakers and the communities they document. My phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. You've ruined me. I hope you're happy. I didn't bother responding. Instead, I opened my laptop and began writing a treatment for my next documentary. This time, my name would be there from the start, along with a promise to all the people who would trust me with their stories. Integrity first, always. 3 years of work had culminated in this moment. But it wasn't the award that made me proud. It was knowing that somewhere in Peru, Maria and her village were watching their stories being told with the respect they deserved. Sometimes, standing up for what's right means risking everything. But as I'd learned, the truth has a way of coming out, especially when you've got it all on camera. The festival was ending, but my journey was just beginning. And this time, I would be the one holding the camera, telling the stories that needed to be told my way.